Now we move on to LSU basketball, and I'll tell you this: the betting weekend was not really favorable for me in this regard. Took the under, and once again the over hits. So Mario, I'm starting to back off a little bit on just blind betting the under right now with LSU basketball. That's 2 games in a row. That's the first time that's happened, obviously, all season. LSU, they do fall 77-68 to TCU in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Now sit 16-5 overall on the season. They'll hop back into conference play Tuesday night versus Ole Miss in a game that LSU will be a sizable home favorite in that game, and they really need the win. So ultimately, when you look at TCU, I kind of described it this way after the game. It's not the end of the world. It's another quad 1 loss.
The sky is intact.
The sky is very much intact. LSU's net stands at number 14 now, so you're still in good position there, and all your goals are really still in front of you, minus winning the SEC. But this game wasn't going to impact that anyway. You have a very manageable stretch of your schedule now that you should be able to run through. Hopefully, you're getting a little healthier, and it doesn't really pick back up for you until your trip to Kentucky and three of your last 4: Kentucky, Arkansas on the road, Kentucky and Arkansas on the road, and then Alabama at home. So you sit in a pretty good spot, but you just leave that one Saturday with a bit of a bitter taste because it was an opportunity for a quad 1 win on the road. I do believe LSU is a better team than TCU, and not for a lackluster first half where you shot 28% from the floor and were out-rebounded by 10. LSU probably wins that game, even with the bad defense that they played. TCU was the high watermark for points against LSU this year, 77. But even so, you out-rebounded them in the second half. You tied on the scoreboard 39-39. The margin of victory was the same as it was at halftime, 9 points. Man, if you play better in the first half, you get off to a better start, LSU probably does win that game. So it's a bit of a bitter taste. Obviously, you saw what happened. If the defense finally faltered, LSU just does not have the firepower on offense, which, I mean, we all kind of imagined and thought, but it looks ugly when that finally does happen.
Especially on the road. LSU kind of dooms itself by getting off to these slow starts. You can't get down 16 in the second half. You can't start the first SEC game against Auburn down 11-0 right off the gate. Like, a lot of times LSU's defense is going to keep them in the game. They're going to come back and make it competitive, but by the end, they're going to run out of gas, and that's exactly what happened. But some good in this game, and the most important being the hopefully improving health of LSU. Xavier Pinson at least got on the court. Didn't look too good. Didn't look like he was too comfortable. Just 7 minutes all in the first half. But then the good news, Darius Days comes back, plays 32 minutes. You would have liked to see him shoot the ball a little bit better than he did, but a team-high 12 rebounds. Ankle looks really healthy. That's good news for LSU going forward, and they're going to need both of those guys. And as far as X goes, when he went down against Tennessee, Musso, I honestly thought he was going to be out for the season.
So did I.
Without having the doctor's point of view, it looked like a torn ACL. So I'll take what's happening right now. If you're an LSU fan, they're trying to clearly ease him back in. He's been questionable like a million straight games. I was really comfortable thinking that he's going to come in. He's going to be on a minutes restriction still, yes, but he's going to play extended minutes. But he looked like he was still hurt, honestly, and that brace looks pretty big. Like, I've seen some big knee braces before, but looked a little obnoxious on Xavier Pinson.
Looks like he's lugging it around a little bit. I'm with you. I mean, look, he was obviously very tentative in that game, and that's to be expected. It's the first time he's going out there trying to play full speed in a real game. That's to be expected. It was basically like you just played that game without him again. So obviously they still need to get healthy. Before we talk a little bit more about the negatives, specifically on the defensive side, offensively, LSU turned the ball over 9 times, and that's a hell of a win. I mean, it's unfortunate it didn't really materialize into much, throughout the complete game offensively, but Will Wade always likes 10 or less turnovers. That's the first time they've hit it all year. You had 11 assists to 3 turnovers between Murray and Gaines, so between your 2 guards, that's got to be one of their best ratios of the season. I'll be honest, I didn't go back and through each of the 21 games and look, just because it really isn't necessary. You know that's one of their best. And we talked a little bit on Friday, Mario, previewing this game about the free throw line, that maybe LSU found their mojo again in the second half of A&M, where they shot 81%. LSU shot 82% from the free throw line on Saturday. That's a good sign going forward for this team. They just need to work on getting to the line more often. You just shoot 80% like that, 14 to 17. If you could get a few more attempts, you can really find some points. Unfortunately for me, that's really where the positives end offensively. They missed so many layups in that game. And they just, especially without X, but in general this year, LSU has not been able to find the points when they need it. I mean, how many times did they get that game to 2, or did they get it to 3? And you have the shot to go down there and tie it, or even take the lead, and it's a turnover, or it's just a bad possession, your shot clock violation, things like that, and you give the ball back, and TCU hits it on the other end. So that part you've kind of come to expect from LSU, especially without Xavier Pinson. The defense, though, man, they looked slow to me. Only forced 13 turnovers, which I know, I mean, that's still a good number, but LSU's been forcing 16, 17, 18 turnovers, and TCU had a willingness to give the ball up, especially early in that basketball game, and LSU just could not really take advantage of that through the middle and in part of the game.
The ball movement from TCU was really good. LSU was a step slow defensively. They did a really good job of breaking the press and getting some good looks at 3. Chuck O'Bannon made 3 in a row in the second half to get the lead up to 16. That was huge. And there were some lapses on defense, including for Eric Gaines. I thought he played okay defensively, but not really to the level that we're used to seeing him play. But offensively, going back to one of the positives, Eric Gaines, 9 assists, 2 turnovers in the last 2 games. Really like to see that. And the like you said, him and Murray both are doing a much better job of playing downhill. But LSU in this game only made 9 of 23 shots from the paint. So the shot selection wasn't really bad for LSU. Nope. They just weren't finishing. And TCU was doing a good job with their low post defense. And that resulted in some runouts for TCU instead of some made baskets for LSU. So I think the coaching in this game was fine. The attack in the basket was good. You just got to convert when you get there. And you got to get back to playing a little bit better defense like they were earlier in the season.
You shoot better than 28% from the floor in the first half, you probably win the ball game. I mean, just because even with Tennessee going on that run that they did to start the second half and getting up 16 points, that half still ended 39-39. I mean, you had that same point differential to end the game as you did the second half. I mean, that tells you kind of all you need to know. So, again, it's not the end of the world. It's not even really close to the end of the world. LSU still sitting pretty nice in the net. It was another quad 1 loss, but your schedule lightens up. You have a chance to reel them off. You're getting healthier, but you do leave that one with a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth. It was a nice quad 1 opportunity on the road against a team that, I mean, I believe you're better than. You just didn't play like it in the 40 minutes on Saturday.
I agree, and this is still a team with an identity, Musso. Like, yeah, they were a step slow on defense this game. Maybe they're not as elite as they were early in the season, but they'll get Xavier Pinson back. That will help, and the numbers don't lie. If you look at the KenPom rankings, the defensive efficiency, LSU number 1 in the nation. When you look at offensive efficiency after Saturday, they're number 126. So those scoring droughts down the road, you would think that's going to do LSU in, but you know where they need to improve. That's on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, I like the improvement we're seeing from Gaines, from Murray. Xavier Pinson isn't going to be a magical potion that fixes everything, but I would think him coming back and now this team getting more manageable games coming up, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, after that deadly stretch where you had to play 7 straight ranked opponents, you would think that this team could still achieve its goals by the end of the season. But got to convert better when you get closer to the basket and got to get back to playing with the same level of intensity on defense.
LSU is definitely in a class above the teams coming up on their schedule, but I mean, look, man, South Carolina, I don't think anyone's going to tell you they're a world beater. They just went into Reed Arena and beat A&M on Saturday by 13 points. Like, if LSU does not bring their game, even in this next stretch, they're going to get beat. The SEC is incredibly deep this year. It might not show necessarily in the in the NCAA tournament when it come March, but there are a lot of teams in this league. I mean, Georgia beat Alabama. Yeah. You know, I mean, Georgia's the worst. Georgia has a net ranking in the 200s. They're the worst team in the conference, but even they are capable of getting you at any stretch. So I'm with you. Obviously, X is not going to be a magic potion that fixes it, but he will help, and it will help especially with the efficiency. I mean, that's just kind of what we've talked about all year with this LSU team. They have to be efficient offensively because they're not just going to go out there and light it up. And he will help with that. They were They were better offensively with Pinson in there. They could play with anybody in the country, at least at that point. And it gets you back to being able to have that 8-man rotation that LSU is just running in and out through the first half of the season when they were at their most successful and being able to play with anyone in the country. That's hopefully what that brings you.
Yeah, you're number 25 in the AP poll still. You're 4-4 in the SEC. This team knows where it needs to improve, and I think they can improve in those areas. They're already getting healthier. At least you saw Pinson on the court. And like I said, I was really impressed with Darius Days. He's been in a big slump shooting the ball, but he still impacts the game in so many other areas. And obviously his veteran leadership is really important. So LSU, they're not in like danger territory yet, but all these games are really important. You want to try to get all 3 of these coming up.
Absolutely.